Good afternoon. Welcome to the KGI podcast. My name is Shelley Schuster, and I serve as the president of the Keck Graduate Institute. Today, I'm thrilled to be able to be joined by Dr. Anna Hickerson, who is a program director of our new Medical Device Engineering Master's Program. She's not new to KGI, though, as she first joined us in 2005. Anna, thanks so much for being here and being part of this first podcast.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you. I want to make a note that this is our first time using the LinkedIn Live platform, and we're sharing this podcast also on Facebook and YouTube as well. So welcome to everyone who is watching, and feel free to add any questions, and we'll try to answer those toward the end of the interview. So again, Anna, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for interviewing me.
Well, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We've known each other for a long time, but it's really the first time that we've ever really had a chance to sit down and really ask some interesting questions. So let's just kind of have fun with it. So we don't need to go sort of into your academic background, which is extensive and impressive. Tell us about your background as Anna Hickerson, the engineer.
Yeah. So where do I start? I've always been interested in science and engineering. The interest in medical devices and biology sort of came a little later. I came here to the United States when I was 5. My father's also a professor, so we came here, traveled around. I kind of got to see the academic life and culture.
Where from?
I came here from Poland, so a long time ago. And it was a very daunting experience, actually, coming over here. Just the culture was very different. I didn't speak the language. And so it gives me a lot of sympathy to our international students, because, it was hard enough as a child with parents who were taking care of you. It's a lot harder to come completely on your own.
Absolutely.
But growing up, I loved building things, Legos, drawing. And so that kind of sparked my interest.
And your parents encouraged you in that pursuit?
Yeah. My mother actually also has a PhD in math, but she's not now a full-time artist. So people change career paths throughout their lives. And then at first I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I realized I get motion sick. Then I wanted to be an astronomer, and I got daunted by the maps and the late hours. So I settled on engineering in around 8th grade, and I know most people I think most people change career ideas quite a lot in their life since 8th grade going on, but that was a really strong passion for me from the get-go. So through high school, I was like, I'm going to be an engineer. I got to college, I was like, oh, so this is what engineering is. And then
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Caltech. So I have a bachelor's of science in actually engineering and applied science. So it's a broad degree, and I had a concentration in mechanical engineering. And then I started working for a faculty member who was both an aeronautics and bioengineering degree. And you might wonder where the overlap is. And in his case, it's fluid mechanics, right? We're made of squishy materials with a lot of blood and other fluids pumping around. So he would model the cardiovascular system, and I worked on that for my PhD. And I came here 2005. So October 1st will be my 14-year anniversary.
Holy, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been here longer than most people, actually. It's
Absolutely.
A little bit surprising.
Well, that's fantastic. But you came to teach in the MBS program, right?
I actually came as a postdoc. So I started in the lab of Jim Sterling.
Okay.
And we worked on microfluidic devices for PCR and other diagnostics. And then I did a stint teaching half-time with Harvey Mudd College, which is, of course, in the consortium, and continued to do research here. And then I started picking up teaching. So I sort of traveled around different people's labs and teaching. And then about 5 years ago, started teaching full-time as a faculty member.
So what got you thinking about the medical device program?
I've just, I was teaching in medical devices. I teach product development. That's my oldest course. And I'm really passionate about these devices because I feel like it's a super intersection between the things I love to build and do. I love my 3D printers, laser cutters, and you may not see the rest of this room, but it has
toys,
other fun equipment and toys. And I like to build things, but I also like the idea of healthcare. But I was never destined to be a doctor. I don't have the bio, the pharma, that stuff, which is great to hear in talks and presentations and KGI culture, but it's not me. So within the MBS program, the Master of Business and Science, there's a medical device and diagnostic concentration. So I started there as a program director for just that concentration for a couple years, maybe 3 years, trying to build out the classes, make sure there's more elective choices, try and guide students. And then I did the MBS program as a whole in the past year. So that gave me some opportunity to direct an entire program, but then a little less devicey. And the MBS is a wonderful program. It has business and science and all the different life sciences of biopharma, pharma, med devices. But there really are a lot of people who are more interested in just medical devices and get shy away from that pharma piece, just like the reverse also happens. So this is an opportunity to build a program that's specific for engineers who want to build medical devices. We also have our Masters of Engineering in Biopharmaceutical Processing. So that's, if you're a chemical engineer, maybe that's the path for you. If you're mechanical, electrical, computer, stuff like that, I think med devices is
in your program. What are your thoughts about how to get the students to come up with their own projects? Think that one through.
So I met a student once who, while I was recruiting, who's like, I'm an engineer, can you just give me the problem? I know I can solve it. and I understand that mindset, you want to get to the solution, but coming up with the right problem to solve is half the work. So it is a little struggle at the beginning. In this program, we have a really cool class called Clinical Experience for Engineers. So to really understand what problems actually exist and who you're building them for, you have to get out and meet those people. So we've taken them to, in this class, they go to a local hospital. Here it's called Casapulina is the hospital they're going to, and they go into the inpatient occupational therapy area, and they just shadow and assist as they can. So they're technically volunteers of the hospital. Yeah.
And we get to see the real people with
real patients, real problems.
Yeah.
So while at the hospital, they're not becoming practitioners, but they get to see and help out. And then when they come back to a class with me, they have to write up a user need with some framework of how to identify that and really specify what the problem itself actually is before you come up with a solution. Yeah.
And it's my understanding as well that they're going to be working sort of interestingly with an OT program that's beginning as well.
Yeah, so we also have a new director of our upcoming occupational therapy program. So if you're interested in occupational therapy, that's coming in the future. And Christy Billick, she's really great. She just arrived a couple weeks ago, and she already came out to talk to her students about what to expect when they go to an occupational therapy inpatient center, just because none of us are, no one sitting in that classroom at the time had that kind of experience. So what I'm really looking forward to is once those students arrive, we have people who are very patient-centered, and then the students who are device-focused, and then we can collaborate on projects where either smaller projects that are for a single semester, or even you can imagine a thesis-type project where you work as a team, and we're really into teamwork here. So have students work in a team and have one person, maybe we can connect our MBS students, have one of our business students, and they do a market assessment and a business plan to see if there's an opportunity. Have the OT student get the user needs and then maybe do a preclinical study with the parts and have the engineers actually build it. So working together, all together, as opposed to a single person on their own writing a thesis. That can get lonely. That's isolating. Yeah.
That's definitely
and it's not realistic because you go out to the workforce, you're not by yourself.
Absolutely not. Did we want to answer a question, or is there just in a little bit? Okay. I didn't want to interrupt the flow because it's just like you've been able to talk with the new students in the program for the last month. Do things stand out about their interests, their abilities, the way they think, their excitement level? What are you seeing?
They're all coming from slightly different places, and their interests are often led by personal experiences with their family's health or their own health. So let me see, we have 2 students that came from our previous year, so they switched programs into the MSMDE, so they'll be graduating just at the end of this year. And one is looking to go to medical school, but she's also has an engineering background, and so was really excited. Our other student has kind of similar. Of our new students, we have someone very much interested in neuroscience type devices based on some family history. Another student is very interested in sports medicine. She was an athlete. She did a lot of different things. And our third student is international, so that was really cool. We can say 1/3 of our first class of our student body is international.
Or a global place.
He'll be learning about both the American system and just what kind of devices and technology can be applied to his home country.
It really is fun to make this a global thing, because obviously the problems are global and the solutions have to obviously fit with the various different kinds of environments that you're going to face in different places in the world. So what a great opportunity to have.
And having people with those different experiences is going to be very helpful. You know, I have to say all the time, like, when we're designing stuff, like, please make sure you've met someone or know someone who has this problem before you start.
Before you solve it. Because otherwise you're just imagining. Right. And what you think might be the problem might not even be the problem. Yeah. So they'll get to talk to each other. We have a question. We just read the questions? Okay. They want to know the difference between the MBS and the medical device with a medical device concentration and the engineering master's program. What is different between those two?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our the MBS program as a whole is our flagship original program, and it is a blend of business and science. So you can expect about 50-50 between those two. So the course requirements of what you have to do to complete the business in the MBS is much more, although we do still have some of that in the MDE. And then on the science side of the MBS, it's more rounded, but in some sense spread a little thinner because you have to learn both the biologics and pharmaceutical and medical devices. So the jobs within the MDD concentration of the MBS, there's a lot of acronyms.
Here,
okay, so
right?
In the Master of Business and Science program with the medical device concentration, a lot of the people who've gone through that end up at careers at medical device companies, but not especially towards engineering roles. So they might do business development at a medical device company. They might do regulatory affairs at a medical device company. They still have to understand the technology, but it's a different career goal. In the MSMDE, Master of Science in Medical Device Engineering, that's the new program that I'm working on now. That one is specifically aimed at engineers. So having some kind of strong STEM, technical, preferably engineering undergrad degree, and then taking that to the next level and learning more technical skills. So there is some course overlap. We still do a little bit of business, not as much, some regulatory, not as much. And then we have more technical courses, including CAD, prototyping, manufacturing, medical device quality. So those courses are new. And then we have some courses that are overlapping. And then I think one of the most important pieces is both programs participate in the Team Masters project. So that's a two semester equivalent of 2 courses per semester capstone project. Again, instead of doing a individual thesis in a lab, you're getting a experience with a company that's paying students to do the project. You work with the company, you work with a faculty member. For the students that are in the MSMDE program, they're guaranteed to work on an engineering-related medical device project. Whereas for the MBS students, there's a wide variety of interesting projects, and it's a larger spectrum of what they might end up doing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is sort of a change in emphasis that, puts more in regulatory affairs and business and management and marketing, things like that in the MBS. But it really is, the needs are everywhere for all of it. And I would say, especially given the convergence between devices and diagnostics and pharmaceuticals, it's really at some point going to be difficult to tease those apart and say what really is the specific training. But what do you see as the potential job market for graduates in the engineering program?
Yeah, so there's a lot of room within the engineering roles at medical device companies, and actually to say even beyond medical device companies, there's lots of pharmaceutical companies that have device subdivisions. Okay. So drug delivery is a huge part of that. Companion diagnostics can be a part of that. And there's devices, okay. In any case, there's the more traditional roles in R&D. So working at the bench, developing things, trying out new stuff. There's whole departments around user needs, and that's something that's very underserved. People don't know how to do those kinds of studies. So I think that's the kind of the patient-centered area of that. There's product and project management, which are actually not the same thing. They sound very similar, but in there. And then, a lot of times people think about, okay, I designed the device and now I have a prototype. It's like, okay, great. Can you sell your prototype? You cannot sell a prototype. So you have to know how to manufacture thousands of them, or if it's a disposable, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of something. And so there's a lot of the manufacturing that goes into it. People's lives are at risk, so there's quality control. The regulations require a whole lot of documentation and proof of things being calibrated correctly, being produced properly, tracked and stuff. So there's a lot more in the engineering realm than just the prototyping phase, which is also fun. There's people then that are also more strategic, thinking about looking at the different projects to pick out which one. Let's say a company tries out 3 or 4 different projects, and then someone has to decide which one to put the big dollars in, and where does that go next.
Incredible opportunities. Tell me, what advice would you give undergraduates or people thinking about these various kinds of programs in terms of preparing themselves or thinking through, how they would join a program like this?
Yeah, so in terms of picking programs, really, I'd say first start to think about what you want to do after you graduate. There's a lot of different styles of programs out there, and they're suitable for different people. This particular program is really focused towards getting people into industry. So I'd say if you are passionate about medical devices, you don't have to know everything about them coming in, because that's our job to teach you, but the concept of it is exciting, having some background. If you're coming from a program that doesn't have any, the easiest low-hanging kind of obvious degree to come into this one would be biomedical engineering or bioengineering. But if you're coming from something else like mechanical or electrical or computer science or math, applied physics, whatever area you're in, but you're interested in med devices, do something to make sure you actually are interested in medical devices, whether that's a summer opportunity, a small program. And one of the things that we have going on here, I'm not quite sure why I didn't mention this earlier, is a summer program. So this last summer, I guess that was this summer, we just had our first medical device development bootcamp, more acronyms. And it was really great. We had over 20 students, mostly local, but also from around the US participating, from the UCs, Cal States, and out of state. And what we did was did a micro version of the curriculum in small workshops, and then took them around to different med device companies of different sizes and types. So we saw Beckman Coulter, we went to Edwards Life Sciences, we went to Analytic Jena, we visited one of KGI's spinouts, Claremont Biosolutions. We had some speakers come in. So that, imagine the morning is the teaching and the experience of what the industry is, and then the afternoons they worked on a 4-week-long project with different faculty advisors, and most of the faculty here are very translational. So the projects were in collaboration with companies, startup companies, and yeah. So that's, if you're not sure if you want the 2-year, come for the summer program, see the experience, and regardless of whether you end up in our program or not, that experience is going to be really powerful. And there's some benefits too in terms of application process. So if you participate in our program, your participation will include a letter of recommendation from whichever faculty advisor you have. So do well if you want that program, and then the GREs are waived because we believe that the actual one-on-one experience with a person is a lot more informational than numbers on a piece of paper.
You're talking about some really exciting stuff that you envision, and hopefully the students will get inspired to develop and think about and move forward. We just got some nice support to build here in the Mad Lab, which, by the way, you have to take credit for naming. I just want that on the record someplace.
You approved it.
Well, I
liked
did,
it when I said it.
I did, and I still do. I think it says a whole lot.
Yeah.
But tell us what you envision for having here in the Mad Lab.
What we hope to add, in terms of
capacity,
equipment.
Doing stuff. What
Yeah,
kind of things are you able to make, or sew together? Can you make freight trains, or what are you going to do? Airplanes? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard. There's so many things you could make. In terms of what we have, like I've
you're going to get more 3D printers, I'm presuming.
Printers, right? So it's kind of scaling up. Right now, the summer program, as I said, had 21 participants. Those 21 wouldn't actually fit in this room right now. So that's kind of interesting. We were in a different classroom for the summer. The program has a handful right now. So we happily fit in here, study here, hang out, and build stuff, and there's no problems. But we're trying to grow the program to 25 students per class. So 50 total because it's a 2-year program. So building it out so that we're not all standing in line to use the printer.
And this will be available 24/7?
24/7. So we're in our new Oasis Commons building, and it's one of the smaller classroom spaces that we're in at the moment. It's under a lock and key to prevent random people from wandering in and taking our cool stuff, but the students do have access. So after they complete a training session, they get a key of their own. And one of the future hopeful upgrades is also just a key card swipe access so that we can track students easier instead of a hard solid key. So yeah, they can come in here anytime as long as they're trained. They sign off on the rules.
Oh, I'm so disappointed you even think of a key. How 90s? I mean, really? A key.
18th century technology, even before that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
But that would be, I just think the key card, they have their ID cards with them all the time anyway. It lets you in the building, so then you don't have to carry a second thing. But
No, but it really is exciting to be able to see what I've always been so intrigued with what you've been able to do with the students just in a class in terms of really new innovations. And I just can't wait to see the kinds of things that they're going to be able to do. And I suspect this is going to be a rousing success, and your enthusiasm and knowledge and passion for this is apparent, and I really know that it's going to guarantee success for the program and for the students. So thank you so much for doing this.
Yay, thank you. Yeah, I'll mention one last thing.
Yeah,
so within the curriculum, there is a lot of courses that are required, but there are some elective options in the process. So you can, especially as we build out, we'll have more choices. And one of the things that you can do is independent research. So if you do want that side experience of working in a lab, as I said, we have a lot of faculty doing translational research.
That's we're gonna thank you for doing that. Well, let's postpone the end for just a second. Can you just say a little bit about your colleagues in the medical device arena? Not just all the ones that teach the business and everything, because folks could go to the website, but you have some colleagues in devices and diagnostics that are more focused in that area. Want to just say a couple words about them?
Yeah, so I did my PhD in bioengineering at Caltech, and then I have a lot of classmates because of that went towards medical devices. Bioengineering can be broader than just devices, but they're surprisingly entrepreneurial. Should I say that?
Yes.
So out of my advisor was just a really great person who is also very entrepreneurial and has started a whole lot of companies. One of his most recent startups, Avicen, includes both a classmate of mine from my PhD and a classmate of mine from my undergrad. So they're creating a heart monitoring sensor that's non-invasive and using cool AI type technology to do some diagnostics. We have friends over at UCI. Two of my classmates ended up as faculty there, and they're doing their own startups, including Helix Cardia, which is a cardiology company. So most of my college friends, I guess I would say, ended up in the cardio arena.
Also, I mean, some of our colleagues, I mean, Kiana and Jim and some folks like that. Just a sentence about what they're doing. I think people might be interested.
I mean, I'm within our own program, we have. Maybe I misunderstood the question. Within our own program, we have a great faculty team. So we have Angelica Neems, who's one of the early founding. I'm not sure if she was founding faculty, but certainly one of the earliest faculty here. And she teaches diagnostics with one of our newer faculty, Travis Schlappy. She has a company startup called Effian, and they're working on STD diagnostics for low resource settings that are very specific to the DNA sequences. Travis has his research that he's working on UTI diagnostics as well. So they're I consider them the diagnostic team. Jim Sterling is a founding faculty member, and he went through various roles here, including dean at one point, and he's the one I started working with. So microfluidics. Nowadays, he's interested in salt and other transportive molecules through mucosal membranes. So if you like spit, as his joke, he's the man for you. Right. And of course, Kiana Ron, also a recent addition to our KGI faculty team. She teaches medical devices with me, and she has an incredible background from Berkeley in electrical engineering. She works on biosensors, teaches both biosensors and drug delivery